everybody, my name is Brandon Kelly, back for the first time. Thank you to Cointelegraph for giving me this opportunity to discuss just a little bit of market psychology, hopefully to help you get involved with cryptocurrency and have a little bit of success in the market as well. What I've learned in looking at the markets and understanding the charts and the technical analysis is that everything in our universe happens as a part of a cycle. There are three parts to any cycle. There is the event you're looking at, there's an event that happened before it, and there is another event yet to happen. That's why they say things always happen in threes. And in using this methodology, we have developed a very, very accurate forecasting method called the Boss Method, which I walk through in many of my other videos. Now, I don't want to jump into that right away. I wanted to give you guys more of a high-level overview of what goes into developing that understanding. And essentially, it's that everything is a cycle. If we look at the general market, you'll notice that a lot of times it goes up, to come back down and, kind of does this nice little sine wave thing. Well, if we think about that as a complete circuit in itself, what is a sine wave? A sine wave is essentially the simplest form of energy that we're able to understand. It's one complete cycle, just like that. And when we think about, what causes a market to go up, well, knowing simple economics, we can understand that there are more buyers than sellers. Say, for example, Amazon stock has been very, very strong, very bullish. The past few years, there have been more buyers of Amazon stock than sellers. Therefore, the price goes higher and higher and higher each time someone buys it. And this is represented in the green candles. When we have red candles, and if we want to look at Bitcoin stock, right, to the US dollar, there have been more sellers than buyers lately, and that's why the price goes down and down and down, all the way down from 20,000. But when we look to understand how those individual emotions, whether you like something or whether you fear something, those are essentially the two emotions that make up our entire spectrum of understanding. Every emotion we have as humans is a variation of one of those two emotions, love and fear. And when we understand that markets fluctuate with regards to human emotion, we can then infer that everything is in fact interrelated, because humans are still the ones reaping the benefits from financial markets, and humans are the ones actually building the algorithms and the bots and the exchanges and so on that these financial markets revolve around. Everything is entrenched in human emotion, and everything happens in a cycle. For example, your week is a cycle. You wake up Monday morning, chances are you do the same thing you did every single Monday morning, whether that's go to church, whether that's go to the grocery store, whether that's go work out, whatever it is you do on Monday morning, more than likely 9 out of 10 times you will do that same thing every Monday morning. That's because things happen in cycles, right? And so now that we understand market sentiment is what they call it, positive or negative sentiment, we can begin to imagine the market all together, especially Bitcoin, for those of you getting started in the market, as a roller coaster. And so we see that when Bitcoin goes up, it's because a lot of people are very positive about Bitcoin. They love, the idea of the blockchain and the new technology and all these great things that it's poised to be. However, when it turns down, you start to run out of that positive emotion and you get more of the negative emotion. This is, oh, is Bitcoin a bubble? Oh, there's this legislation. Oh, there's this country that closed this exchange, and this article that said, the stock market didn't like it and Warren Buffett didn't buy it, and all these different correlations of events that contribute to that downward trend in overall sentiment. It's just a natural cycle so that it can indeed go up once again. This is why they say what goes up must come down if in order it wants to go back up. And so now we understand the sentiment, we understand the roller coaster, and so I will ask you, given that relationship is, say, $1,200 for Bitcoin, is that too high? Well, it's all relative, because if you would have bought, back in 2012, then yes, indeed, it was very high and soon corrected significantly over the course of the next 2 years. But when I ask you, is $2,200 high? Well, if you would have bought it a few months ago, $2,200 wasn't very high at all, because after that, it went on track, to push $20,000. And now here we are, between $10,000 and $12,000. And so I will ask you, is that high? Is that low? It's all relative, because we understand we are just on a cycle of what's yet to happen. And so now I think we can use this opportunity to really get into, some more charts, just to understand the big picture so that we can be more proactive in the markets. And I think that's what, understanding the cycles allows you to do, is you buy it down here, you sell it up there, and that wave, that energy you just cashed out, is profit, right? Buy it low, sell it high. Buy it low, sell it high. We can do this over and over and over again if we understand that the market is essentially a closed loop cycle, and all the energy that was inside of Bitcoin's chart back in March when it was $2,200 is still inside of Bitcoin's chart today at $10,000. Again, this is the first law of energy, the conservation of energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It merely transforms from one asset to another, from one swing to another, from one cycle to another, from one breakout to another, right? And now we can be more reactive. We can be more proactive. We can plan accordingly. And this is what I do every other day on my videos, is I go inside the chart and I show you that this cycle has come to an end. This cycle has started. Now we expect this event to come. When we break down, I say this is the floor. This will be our bottom point. Why is that? Because we have a natural extension of energy, that we can forecast, project, and understand to facilitate future trading, right? And so I say all that to bring it back home with a few familiar faces. A lot of people understand Warren Buffett to be one of the greatest minds of the 20th century with regards to financial markets, and he mentioned that the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. What does that mean? That means if you want to get rich quick, this is not the game for you. There are many, many people that profit from many other people's inability to wait for cycles to complete so that they may properly exit their positions. A lot of times we want events to happen right away. I want mine now. All too often we find that is not the case, especially in cryptocurrency. So as we wait for the time to fill, for these various cycles to start and to commence, we understand that this waiting time is indeed an opportunity in itself. And it allows us to go to another level of the chart and say, okay, if Bitcoin's not making any money right now, say it's between 8 and 12,000 and kind of just sitting flat, what can we do? Well, this is where we start to look at the altcoins, because we understand that by trading Bitcoin, the only thing we gain by having more Bitcoin is more dollars. But if we have the altcoins, now we have the opportunity to trade back and forth. And with each successful trade in the altcoin market, we're actually able to accumulate more Bitcoin. And that is the world that I live in. I swing trade the altcoins every day. And I use these cycles and harmonics and moving averages and momentum to accumulate more and more Bitcoin with every trade. It is very possible. It is very real. And I've made it very simple with the Boss method. And you can just type into YouTube chart like a boss, and that will show you a plethora of instances to which you can just use our simple harmonics to make yourself some extra Bitcoin in the process. And so I say all that to again bring it back home with a lot of financial experts forecasting the blockchain and the digital, evolution to be the fourth industrial revolution that we as a people have endured and embraced. And I think that's a great opportunity. This is a very, very pivotal cycle in our existence. If you just look above us, as above so below, we have three major celestial events, three major eclipses, each one 150 years, 120 years, 130-year events that are all happening inside of an 8-year period. That's pretty prominent. And that indeed is the start of another cycle. So I think it's time for us to understand how these cycles work, understand how we can use that information to profit in the market, and then bring it back home, knowing that you can't have a revolution without a little bit of LOVE. And when we turn that upside down, invert it towards ourselves, we understand that there is positivity driving every cycle, because the lack of positivity, in essence, leaves us nothing to look forward to. And so therefore, I just want you guys to understand that positivity is indeed the most powerful force known to mankind. And that's why I started our initial discussion with the power of positivity. And that's why I'm bringing this home with the power of positivity in those cycles, because that will ultimately be the driving force that brings us from that low point we experience in the marketplace to a higher ground. And ultimately, a little bit of more greenbacks in our pocket as well. Right? It's not always about the money, but it is always about the outcome. And as long as we have a positive mantra on both sides of that equation, then it's hard for us to miss the middle ground in between. That being said, guys, thank you very much for joining me. I invite you again to our different communities. You can type in on Facebook, #1 Bitcoin group in the world. We have about 25,000 of my best friends that come together 7 days a week to keep each other empowered and in profit in the marketplace. And I do invite you as well. Thank you again to Cointelegraph. They have a lot of amazing articles and insights, in their community, and also on YouTube. Glad you watched this video on Cointelegraph, and also you can check out BK Crypto Trader when you get a chance. We just come together to try to help each other. Each one, reach one, teach one. Together, we will all achieve more. And I will see you guys next week till we meet again. Stay cryptic, y'all. Peace.